Hi there. Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Anthony and welcome to my YouTube channel. I pray that you are well and I pray that life is handling you well. For those of you who have joined in, our channel usually talks about politics, the state of young people in Kenya, and how we can equip ourselves so that we can take up leadership positions in the country. And so today, I'd like us to talk about what Kenya needs, okay? Because as a young leader, when you're standing up to be counted, when you're standing up to bring change in our country, you need to get certain things right. You're not just coming to remove bad leadership, you're coming to effect good leadership. So if you don't know why you're coming in, and the only reason you want to come to power is to remove bad people, then you are also part of the problem. Because when you remove the bad leaders, what are you replacing them with? So you need to have an agenda. You need to know what you're coming to do. You need to have your policies in check. You need to know exactly what your drive is and what your plan is. So what have we learned about our country, Kenya, so far? What is the problem with Kenya? The current problem with Kenya is bad leadership. So we have leadership that does not follow the rule of law to the letter. It only follows the rule of law when it suits them. We have leadership that interferes with the functioning of the legislature, which is the parliament. We have leadership that is not prudent in spending. It's wasteful in its spending. We have leadership that does not value competence above tribe. So there's a lot of complacency in appointments. We have seen people who are appointed to positions who do not qualify, who do not meet the minimum required, experience or expertise required for a certain position. So there's a lack of standards when it comes to appointment to public office. We've seen a lot of tribalism. We have seen a lack of decorum and manners. We have seen leaders who speak without knowing what they're saying. They speak in the heat of the moment. We have seen leaders who lack emotional intelligence. They do not have the wisdom to know what to say at a particular moment. They just act in the heat of the moment. They are not in control of their emotions. We have seen leaders who use goons. We have seen leaders who use violence. And the biggest part of it all, we have seen leaders who are corrupt. And these leaders are corrupt because they are in power and yet they are doing business with government. So there is a compromise because there are vested interests within the government circles. So you are in charge of facilitating a process and yet you are involved in that process. So there are conflicting interests. So basically it's an issue of leaders not adhering to chapter 6 of the Constitution. And that is the bad that we see in Kenya. So we as young people, when you are stepping up for leadership positions, what do we want to see? What do we want to bring? What change are we advocating for as young people? So that brings us to my topic for today. What does Kenya need? Kenya needs leaders of integrity. When I talk about integrity, I mean someone who has worked on themselves, someone who works by principles. You live life guided by certain principles that regulate the extent to which you operate. You have a boundary that you live by. So you need principled leaders. You need ethical leaders. Leaders who understand chapter 6 of the Constitution and who abide by it. We need law-obeying citizens or leaders. You cannot govern a people and expect them to follow the law if you who is at the helm of that leadership does not respect the law. So the law is for all of us to follow, and it is the great equalizer. So if you're not ready to follow the law, what inspires the people that you're leading to follow the same law? Because human beings see and do. You cannot tell them to do what they are not seeing. So you have to model what they should do for them to follow. So we need leaders who follow the rule of the law. Then we also need leaders who have integrity. By integrity, I mean your history needs to vouch for you. We need to look at your finances. We need to look at your history. Okay? What's your wealth status? How did you acquire this wealth? And don't give us fallacies here and fables. I started as a chicken seller. I started selling charcoals, and then now I have 1 billion in assets. We have not seen you growing that charcoal business to that level. It means somewhere in between you had shady deals. So we need to interrogate the people that present themselves to us as leaders and what was their source of wealth. When someone comes and says that my net value is hundreds of millions of Kenyan shillings, so we just calculate roughly, for how many years have you been working? What's your gross salary? Supposing even when we don't even include taxes, let's leave it at gross. If you had not spent this money, let's say you were just saving, how much would you have? Consider the value of appreciation, and we estimate. So we need to be serious about who we bring into power, and so this scrutiny will bring a closer emphasis on the need for integrity in leaders. We don't need to bring crooks to power. We don't need to bring thieves into power so that they can preserve their loot. They are not coming to serve people. They are coming to preserve what they have stolen. So I'd rather we choose people who are honest, hardworking citizens who have shown from their track record that they're able to live within their means, they're able to do an honest day's work, and they're able to maintain standards, not greed. So we need a leader who shows integrity in their dealings. We also need a leader who sees the bigger vision. We don't need tribal chiefs. We don't need tribalists. We don't need leaders who divide this country into regions, Nyanza and Coast, and no. We need a leader who sees Kenya as a whole, a leader who sees all citizens as equal, who will give equal chance to all Kenyans to have an opportunity to succeed. So when a leader stands, he does not see a person from this tribe or that tribe. We need a tribeless leader. We also need a leader who has a vision, most importantly. We are not just electing leaders to remove bad ones. We are electing leaders who know where they want to go. So before you even think of vying, what's your vision? What's your vision for that county? What's your vision for that ward? What's your vision for, what's it called? The constituency. What's your vision as a potential leader? Because you need to have a solid plan that is well thought out, that is practical enough, that can be used to transform the lives of the people you want to represent. And I repeat the part of being practical. We have seen people selling so much hope, which is just hot air. And when it comes to the implementation of these perfect policies that seem good on paper, they are nothing but scraps. So we need a practical model that works. Where has it worked elsewhere? Okay, are there people who have done it? What is the practicality of the implementation of that thing? So we need a leader with a plan. We need a leader with a vision. We need a leader who knows where they're going, and we need a leader who has thought about how he or she is going to implement their vision for the people they represent. Okay, so Kenya needs leaders who see the bigger picture. Kenya needs leaders who see young people. We need leaders who understand the problems that young people are facing. We need leaders who understand that young people need jobs, and they do not just do any jobs. You are going to provide jobs that are relevant to the current world. You don't provide jobs that were in the 1950s in the 2025. No, things have changed. The landscape of the world has changed. The world is now digital. We have moved mostly from the physical side to the digital. So most of your focus should be in the digital space, in the digital economy. What are you going to do for content creators? How are you going to empower them? How are you going to help business cope online? How are you going to train people with skills that can be used in the online market space? So all these ideas, when harnessed together, bring about a visionary leader who knows what young people want. You don't just come and try to implement ideas that worked during our grandfathers' times. No, this is an era where we work smart as well as hard, but we prioritize working smart over working hard. You can work hard and not achieve anything. I can work smart and do everything that you would have done within a month, in a day. So we prioritize smart leaders who have a vision that is relevant to the current demography, which is the young people. So we need more young leaders because young leaders are more innovative. We are not knocking out old leaders, but if you have a team that can implement the vision that will help young people in a practical way that is relevant to the current market, then we welcome every leader. So Kenya needs a change. Kenya needs to shift. We need to shift our mindset. We need to focus more on values. We don't need leaders who are mannerless guiding us. We need to operate in an atmosphere that makes us feel like we're heading somewhere. Every Kenyan should have the feeling that my country is being led the right way, that this leader values me above his stomach, that this leader has prioritized whatever promises that he or she gave, and they are going to keep it, and they are keeping it practically. So we need leaders who will stick to their word. So we have to look at the history of the person. We have to analyze and see, what has this person achieved? How has this person come up? What cases does he have? Does he have any indiscipline cases? Does he have criminal cases? Because also politics is not a place to bring criminals in. It's not a safe haven for criminals and what has been happening. And we need also leaders who are firm. We need to have leaders who make decisions and they stick to them. We don't need chameleon leaders. You just shift and change with the mood. Because I've seen there's a very famously known politician in Kenya who just positions themselves so that they can dialogue and get a position. We don't want leaders who are opportunists. No, we want you to have a stand. We want you to stick to your principle. When you believe in something, you die for that thing. Not being opportunistic to see where you can squeeze in and get a slice of the cake. No, that kind of politics is outdated. We need someone to stick to what they believe in. If you believe in this thing, you stick to it until the end. If you are defeated, sticking to your values, then that's it. That's what a leader is. A leader is someone who's substantiated in values, not a person who's here today and here to tomorrow. Even God says in the Bible, I'd rather you be hot or cold. God says he'd rather you be either hot or cold. If you are lukewarm, he'll spit you from his mouth. So if God does not like lukewarm people, why should we? So we need leaders with an agenda, leaders with integrity, leaders with a stand, and leaders who have vision. We don't want leaders who are going to divide us on tribal lines and, financial capabilities. No. We need a leader who has a vision and a mindset that sees all Kenyans as one, regardless of your financial status, regardless of your tribe, regardless of your age. You're a leader that sees all people as one. You are there to help them by providing policies that will improve their life. You're there to legislate. You're there to help these people live a decent life, provide opportunities for them, and make it easier for them to coexist with each other. So if this is not you as a leader, then you should not vie. We want to promote young leaders who can bring change in this country once and for all, so that our children and our children's children will enjoy a country that is free, that is fair, and that is loving. So that's all I thought I wanted to say today. That's all I have. And I pray that at least someone out there gets inspired to stand up, to be the difference maker, and to bring the change that we need in this country. Otherwise, I am pleasured to record this video. Like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for the next episode. God bless you. God bless Kenya.